Hello, and welcome to another Mystical Musings podcast. You may have noticed that on the title of this, it says part one. And that is because, as usual, we sat down with a plan of how this podcast was going to go, and then things immediately took off and took a different direction. I had not even hit record yet, and we were just talking, and Tava was asking how I was, and I started filling her in, and things just started taking off, and Samael started helping me because I was having a challenging time. And at some point I thought, "Oh my goodness, I should just be hitting record." I think while it's information that's being given directly to me, I felt like this is stuff that could help other people as well. And so I just hit record and then later realized this is going to have to actually be a part of the podcast. So our conversation at the beginning is especially casual and relaxed because it's just Tava and I and Samael and him helping me out and then being in a particularly jovial mood today. So first, Tava is going to tell a little bit about my story because it is still so fresh that I really don't have the distance from it to be able to tell it well. So I really hope that you enjoy this podcast. You can laugh along with us and then hopefully learn some things about boundaries and balance and worth. And you get to learn it through listening to some of our opportunities to learn that as well. So we have graciously decided to give you an opportunity to learn from our mistakes. So I hope that you enjoy.
So I'm going to tell you, I know this is going to sound a little strange. I'm going to tell you what happened to Jen. So she went to take her daughter to school this morning, and on the way back was rerouted over Mount Weather. And if you remember from several podcasts ago, Jen had been called to go up on Mount Weather to help some spirits that have been up there and the energy up there that has been up there for quite some time. There was a plane crash on Mount Weather many years ago. And when she left the site last, it seemed like things were much improved and much settled. But in going over the mountain again this morning, she felt things reaching out for help once more. Now, Jen has had a lot of change and a lot of things happening in the last few days, at least, to say the least. And our and Michael and Samael had both strongly suggested that she needed rest, but never one for turning away those in need. Jen decided she was going to go ahead and sing as she went over the mountain. So she allowed the energy and divine song to come through her for whomever needed it on the mountain. But then afterwards, started to think the song felt strange. Did I do the right thing? Did I actually help anyone? And doubt started creeping in about whether or not the song was beneficial. And so when she came to the podcast this morning, one of the first things she said to me was, I'm in a strange place. I'm in a very unusual place." And when I asked her to elaborate, she told me the story, and she said, I'm really worried about the song. Was the song of use? Was it healing? And we asked Samael to come and attend, and this is the conversation that followed.
So I'm just going to step in here for a moment to fill in a little bit more of the conversation that we realized did not actually get recorded. So I'd shared my experience with Tava and with Samael, and then also was sharing that I was really kind of disappointed in myself for, still not being rested enough or recovered from all of the energetic shifts that were happening and for falling back into doubt, where I was doubting the messages that I was bringing through from Archangel Michael. I was doubting whether the song was good. I was doubting all kinds of things, like, did I not heal things the way that I felt I had when I was called upon to do that before on the mountain? And Samael came in and said, resurrection is a process, singer. Even Christ called out in doubt on the cross. That really gave us pause for a minute and thought, okay, if even Christ was calling out in doubt, I need to be a little bit gentler on myself for having doubts and having periods when everything feels like it's just falling apart or feeling like I haven't made any progress at all. And that got the conversation rolling, and thinking also about the words that he used, that, resurrection is a process, singer, and comparing my spiritual growth and all of these changes and all of these shifts that are happening to like a resurrection, and thinking of it as really resurrecting my true self and helping that to come out and remembering who I really am. So it helped me to recognize that I need to be a little gentler with myself, and that this is maybe a bigger process than I'm giving it credit for. And so he asked me to sing the song for him that I'd sung on the mountain. And he said, the song is good. It answers their cry, but you are also needing rest. Bringing through a response is lowering your defenses. Careful today not to bring in too much. Put up some defenses. And he advised me to send all of the energies that were still all around me and coming to me, that I'd opened myself up to send them to this place that he had instructed me to make in the garden, with a crystal and programs there and filled with Reiki, to provide a place for souls that I didn't really want, surrounding me all the time, but for them to be able to go there and have healing. And so he recommended that I send them there, that I send them to Archangel Michael. And he also said, I will take what I can. You may send them to me as well. I will endeavor to help them settle. And when I was inquiring as to what happened, did I mess something up? Had I done something wrong? All these souls, it seemed like, had been healed and everything was gone and it felt so much better up there. Why all of a sudden did things feel so much worse? This was his response.
It comes in waves like a fire. It reignites after the steam. So my husband's brother worked for years and years and years with firefighters. And one of the things that he talked about is how when firefighters go into a building, they're hosing things down with water. And a lot of times it looks like you've beaten the fire back and everything looks calm. But then if there's still fire smoldering underneath, it will turn the water to steam. And once it's done that, places will reignite. So I think what he's trying to say is the process that the mountain is going through and that the souls are going through. When you were up there, you basically got everything kind of tamped down and you had water on everything and went, okay, we're good. We're feeling good now. But certain areas may have burned off that healing for a time and sort of reignited, or there may have been souls that moved to a different place. Oh, and then he says some souls are of the earth itself.
Gotcha. So, like, the healing of the
Some,
earth.
yes, some are native persons. Some are wild creatures. Some is flow from other places. So I think he's saying that the movement of the energy up there, it's not constant. Things are coming in, things are popping up and down. You probably did a ton with the plane crash people. There's other things up there that now go, oh, look, she's back around
Right.
there reaching out too. And, because the place knows you now. And so you're getting some reignition, because now it's like, oh, can you do this for me?
Yeah. And also, it dawned on me with him talking about the earth itself and wild creatures and things. I did a lot of connecting with Gaia yesterday and starting to channel
Yeah, that's
her
right.
yesterday. And I wonder if some of that, it's like waking up to all of these other things that need healing by having connected with her yesterday.
Yes. The fear of winter is still present. They run to your arms for reassurance that the days will lengthen once more. So, Samuel, are you basically saying that um, certain souls or certain entities or animals or stuff up there, they're worried about winter, like they have seasonal affective disorder? Like they're worried.
Yeah, I was wondering, is it the season winter or metaphorical winter?
Yeah, they are concerned with change. Some cannot see far. It is a natural process. Things pull in, things pull apart. Hibernation is not an end, but some do not understand. Wait, are you talking like baby deer and like things that haven't seen the cycle before or apprehensive? Yes. So there's the changing of the seasons is happening now, and it's becoming evident that the days are growing shorter and things are getting colder. And this shift is causing a change in energy in the mountains. Yes, it activates the spirits. The mountain knows the singer. So we're just getting a shift, I guess, in seasons and time and change. And as everything's going through this change, it's activating a bunch of souls. And he said earlier, some souls are of the earth itself, some are of native persons, some are wild creatures, some is flow from other places. As things are moving through those mountains during this time of change, it brings with it an apprehension. And so the mountains are reaching out to you and wanting you to soothe them. But unfortunately, it's also a time of great change in your life. And you're supposed to be resting. And they're all like, can you soothe me? And so they want you to sing to them.
And so the song was soothing,
The song is soothing and good, but it takes
but
your
yeah,
energy.
it took my energy down. And by singing, by tapping into that and singing that, it brought my energy down
Uh-huh.
and opened me up to taking on those souls then, as opposed to just soothing them and keeping them in their own space.
Yes, he says, like holding a crying child. Sometimes you cannot help but weep.
What a beautiful
So the fear is
analogy.
not your own. Protect yourself. Rest. Send them to Michael. Send them to me. And I will give them rest. Isn't that part of an old Christian hymn? It's an old Catholic hymn.
I'll see if I
Oh,
can find it.
I am before you always. Come, follow me, and I will give you rest. I don't know what it's called.
It says, "Be not afraid, I go before you always." Lyrics.
Yes, that's it. Be not afraid. I don't know if I've got the tune right. I go before you always. Come, follow me, and I will give you rest. Samael, is that? He says, I did not realize I was alluding to something.
Oh, it
It
just
just
sparked
reminded
that, but
me, it reminded me of a Catholic song that we used to sing. Man, I haven't heard that song since I was probably 10. I don't know where that came from. He says it came from me. You said you weren't alluding to anything. Now he's just laughing and he goes, all things come from me. And I go, you are getting too big for your Seraphim britches. He's actually joking these days, which just cracks me up.
that's so fun. I am so profoundly grateful. This was exactly what I needed. And it
Oh,
has
good.
not escaped me that the whole preparation for today, the whole thing we were going to talk about was boundaries, balance, and worth. And all of it was managed to be wrapped up in this one event. And I kept asking the angels of this podcast to prepare us, to show us what it is that we were supposed to share. And I can't help but think that it's a combination of our two experiences in the last, what, like
48 hours or
48
something.
hours,
Yeah.
and the messages that we've received about it. But I think the messages
Yes.
that we've received are probably very potent for other people too.
Yes.
And then
Samael's sitting here
yeah,
going, I will watch. I will watch. So you're going to keep an eye on us? Okay,
yes,
good.
we clearly need somebody watching us. And Michael was around me all morning, and I have no doubt that he was with me on there. But yeah, it's funny. I thought about it too afterwards. I was like, I was driving down the mountain, and I was thinking, I am tired, and I was in that place where I shouldn't have done anything. And I think at the time I thought I was doing something almost protective by singing,
Yes.
because usually singing and channeling that puts me in that place of things coming through and out of me. And so it kind
Yes.
of creates a wave that nothing can kind of come back on. It's like that it would sort of wash everything away. But maybe the energy of the type of song it was, or maybe it was too late by the time I started singing, because I'd already tapped into that, which is what made me sing.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Well, Samael right now says the bridge does get worn by footfalls. So even when things are coming through us, there is there is wear on us. But it's true. I should have, I looked back like the next day and thought, how profoundly stupid was I to go upstairs and just see if anybody was there when
Right.
I had no sleep, extreme stress. I'd eaten like almost nothing that day. And instead, my brain went, heck, look how easy it is to slip into a liminal space. Let's go upstairs. What was I freaking thinking? Stop repeating me. What were you freaking thinking? You don't say freaking, you're quoting me. And now he's just laughing. He was not laughing at me yesterday or the day before, so this is good. He's lightening up a little bit. There was a lot of this gesture in the last 48 hours. Lots of leaning and this.
Yeah,
And
for
I'm
those who
like,
can't see
oh,
that, that's crossing her arms and leaning back.
was in so much trouble. Yeah. As much as you can get in trouble with an angel, but that was a joke. You think he may have borderline made a dirty joke? Haven't heard that before. For those of you who are so curious now, he said Lilith gets in trouble with angels. And now he's looking all smug. Um, my goodness, you are spending a lot of time on Earth these days, aren't you? If only you knew. All right. All right. We're corrupting the Seraphim here. Too late, he says. Um,
I'm sure we are not the first.
no, you are not. So not. Um, all right. Okay, now it's getting a little TMI with the angels. So I completely forgot we were recording. I just looked up and said that.
And I think this is going to be an interesting conversation too, with regards to like how much they can do when we don't do our part as far as protection and stuff. There were things that came to me and that came from Michael that I now have a lot more faith in all of a sudden. I tell you, as soon as he started saying like, send them to me and I will take them, I started feeling lighter and clearer, and the creepy feeling was gone. And I started sending them to Michael and sending them to the thing in the garden. And I feel so much more clear and like back again. I am so grateful. And all of a sudden now I'm like, I have faith in the words that came through me again.
Yay. He also says they call some of us watchers for a reason. Have you heard of the Watchers before?
I've heard it, but I feel like it was more in the terms of movies and stuff. I don't know that I have any real sense.
Yeah, they're referenced in a lot of documents, but I can't remember. There's supposed to be a certain, I don't know if it's I think it's sort of like a, now I want to look it up. Here we go, because before I say anything, because I don't know it all particular either. A watcher is a type of biblical angel. The word occurs in both plural and singular forms in the book of Daniel, 2nd century BC, where reference is made to the holiness of the beings. The books of Enoch, 2nd to 1st centuries. Oh, that's the one Samael's mentioned in.
I was going to say that
Refers
comes
to
up a
both
lot.
Yes, refers to both good and bad watchers, with a primary focus on the rebellious ones. In the book of Daniel, and it gives the verses, there are 3 references to the class of watcher. The first book of Enoch devotes much of its attention to the fall of the watchers. The second book of Enoch addresses the watchers who are in 5th heaven where the fall took place. Oh my gosh.
It said fifth
Jen,
heaven.
it said 5th heaven. I have literally never seen this term other than talking to you. And I know it comes through your training. It's right here, who are in 5th heaven where the fall took place. The third book of Enoch gives attention to the unfallen watchers. The use of the term watchers is common in the book of Enoch. Okay, rogue watchers in the book of Enoch. Okay, here's a list of them. Yeah, there's a whole thing here of all of these angels and fallen angels who are listed by name as either still being, I guess, heavenly watchers, or there's a lot here. But holy cow, they referred to 5th heaven.
That is crazy. I had no idea that there was any sort of biblical reference to that at all.
Oh my God. And then it says the story of the watchers is shown also in the book of Giants. The term watchers occurs in the book of Jubilees. A reference to the fall of watchers from heaven is found in Hebrew in the Damascus document. The first epistle to the Corinthians talks about them. There's a ton of stuff. There they are. The Zohar makes reference to the watchers in the Kabbalah. Oh
So,
my gosh. Oh, here's why we've heard of it before. In Kevin Smith's 1999 religious satire Dogma, the character Bartleby, played by Ben Affleck, is mentioned to have formerly been a watcher. Watchers also appeared in Supernatural. They're in a bunch of stuff. I made a brief reference to them in Bone Witch because I knew a little bit about them, but I didn't know all of this. There's a ton of stuff here.
so since we have Samuel, one of the big things that hit me when it was saying is asking him, is there such a thing as a fallen angel?
Huh. Okay. Samael, is there such a thing as a fallen angel? He says, what do you mean by fallen? One who has left God? Well, I guess he says that is a matter of opinion. I, by some definitions, have fallen. And then he starts laughing. I am outside the definition of holy given on earth by over righteous men. Okay, are you saying that the term fallen angel is a term that we came up with as humans to differentiate? Oh, he says to segregate, not to serve. Fallen is an or term. There are some who cannot be guided and tended to by your organized faiths, And then he starts laughing and says, such as yourself, mashallah, such as yourself, you would not listen or understand me. Are souls such as yours unworthy of assistance? You have much work to do for the divine. Samael, slow down. I can't write this fast. You have much work to do for the divine. Walk in the dark places. I embrace those who do not think of themselves as divine. I reach towards the outcasts, the abandoned, and those who have been told that they have fallen, that they have failed. If they are the fallen, and I am an angel, then I become angel of the fallen. No, I have not been cast away from God, but from the favor of men who wish to control. Good thing I brought a new notebook today. So I think he's trying to tell us that if we subscribe to this idea that there is pure good and pure evil, that there are good angels and bad angels, that's a very or mindset, and that there are souls here on earth who have chosen to incarnate in order to help bring us all forward. But when they look for spiritual help with this incarnation and they don't fit into the boundaries that large organized religion has set up, they often feel abandoned and have been told that they failed, that I mean, we know all the horrible things people say to people who don't fit in. In fact, they haven't fallen. God is everywhere. We're all one thing. It's all one thing. They've been told that. And our standard Bible that we use these days says that he is the king of demons. And so he is uniquely placed, well, maybe not even uniquely placed, but he and certain other angels who have been described as not necessarily following the rules, i.e., you ran around with Lilith, that sort of thing, are in a unique position to reach out to these displaced souls and help them see that they are divine. So case in point, me, I started off in the Catholic Church. When I was a kid, I really, really wanted to be a priest because I felt wonderful when I heard song in church. And we've talked before about how I used to imagine I had wings and I had this drive to be empathetic and to reach out and to help people. But then the church said, so sorry, you're a woman, you can't do this. I didn't fit in there, and I went on a search to find where I could be of service. Technically, if you're to flip through the Bible today, there's a lovely passage that says, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, which sadly we know is a mistranslation of thou shalt not suffer a poisoner to live, but it puts me automatically in the devil worship category with a lot of people. And I know because I've been protested this way, right? So I might not have a place to go for guidance. Samael can pop up and say, hey, I'm an outcast too. Let me guide you. And so the idea of a fallen angel is someone who doesn't fit into sort of what organized religion is saying is the only path to the divine. And again, it's a matter of people's opinion. I think Jen and I are both obviously think Samael is a good being here with us. But by many, he'll be described as a fallen angel.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this part to have come up and to have gotten to ask that question in particular, because it sounds to me like what he's saying is that, he's like, no, God did not cast me out. And my understanding of God is that what kind of God would cast anybody out, would cast anything out? That is not
Yes.
an of God thing. That is a man thing. The casting out and the pushing away is not a God thing, in my understanding. And so it has really, really bothered me, the idea of fallen angels, or things that had been cast out of the kingdom of heaven. It's like, who would do that? What God that is entirely love would decide you have done something and now you're unredeemable and you're not loved? And so the idea that really all of the language in him, it seems like Samael has said a lot of times, well, it depends on who you ask as to what I am or
Yeah.
whatever. And the heart of my question has always been, I don't really care what the throngs of men say. I care what you really are and what the truth is, and that is something that's way beneath anything that men would have come up with. That's way
Yeah.
deeper and more true. And so I'm assuming then that what I just said then is true, that of course God would not cast anything out. It's all about the all and the and I know he said there is nothing that is not God.
Yeah. He says, even angels have differences of opinion. Look in the old books. You will see stories of disagreements, but no one hurled me into fire. And now he's just laughing.
So there are differences of opinion, there are differences of perspective. Like you can have a family where it's like, we all love each other, but we're not going to talk about politics because we know that, Joe is really strongly in one direction and Sally's really in another direction, and we're not going to talk about it, but we're all still a part of the family and we're all accepting that as the case.
Oh, he's talking about Lucifer. Oh, back up a little bit. Even angels have differences of opinion. Look at the old books. You will see stories of disagreement. But no one hurled me into fire, laughs. No one ripped Lucifer's wings from his body. That was preposterous. The or mindset needs an enemy and so makes us thus.
Wow.
And I guess it's true. You can't have an or mindset unless you have two opposing points, things in one camp or things in the other. If no enemy exists, you can't say, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to throw you to the enemy.
Yeah.
You have to have an enemy on the other side to create threat.
Yeah. And wasn't there a point in the I feel like a point in history, and I think you've talked about it, when all of a sudden the concept of the devil came about, and that wasn't until
Yes.
men needed to control others, and it became well, then I can say this is going to happen to you if you don't come to church, you don't pay your tithe, you don't do what we say.
Yes, then you are going to burn forever, sort of thing. It's really interesting as you look at, if you actually go back and look at um, different translations of the Bible and how things changed over time. There are lots of words that when the Bible was translated, there's actually like 5 different words that they all just lumped under the category of hell. And it became our idea now in our modern Bible of what hell and the devil are like. For example, if you go back and read the early versions of the Bible, and I remember having a children's Bible that was given to me for my first communion, and there was a picture in it of the devil tempting Jesus in the desert, and he's got these horns, right? There is no description of Lucifer having horns. There just isn't. Where historians believe the horns came from was when the church was seeking to convert people. And I think I've talked before about the pagan horned god, right? You had a lot of tribes that followed this idea that there was the Lord of the forest, and he was often depicted with horns. Well, if you're trying to convert people away from one belief system and demonize their old god, what do? You make the demon you're trying to create look like their old god and go, no, no, don't follow him. Come this way. And so that's how the devil got his horns. There's actually a really interesting concept. One of the, like, I think it's 5 concepts of hell. And I have notes on this somewhere in the hundreds of pages of documentation I've got sitting currently making my Google Drive not function that well. There was in Jerusalem during the time that Jesus was around a really horrible trash dump, a really bad trash dump that people would regularly set fire to, trying to burn things away. And supposedly, whenever people did this, it stank up half of the city. And people started referring to it by this particular term. Like, oh God, it's so bad in here today. It reminds me of, and I can't remember the name for the term, this trash dump, this smoking, horribly smelling, always seemingly on fire trash dump was very much in everybody in Jerusalem's consciousness because they were all dealing with it quite a bit. And it became a synonym for a horrible place, a bad place, somewhere that you definitely didn't want to go. That word ended up in the Bible, in the early writings of the Bible, as a place of, oh, that's just awful. Let's avoid that. And later on, that became, when it got translated again, that trash dump's name was one of the words that was simply replaced with the word hell. And that's where we're supposed to get this idea of hell, that it's this awful, stinky, sulfur smelling, constantly smoldering place that nobody wants to go. And just for trivia standpoint, it is currently a golf course. They have covered it over. And so you could go visit what apparently was the biblical idea of hell, but today it is a golf course, which is actually my personal idea of hell. So, it's still there. But if you ever get a chance and you ever just want a nice break from work, Google origins of hell, and they'll go into all of these concepts, some of which were just very cultural to the Jerusalem area, and how all of these concepts got mixed together and replaced with the word hell in our modern translation in the Bible. And that's where we get a lot of these crazy descriptions. And then, of course, you also have Dante's Inferno, which Dante is creating this whole different levels of hell and all of these different things in it. There's also some wonderful articles online talking about the idea that hell is empty. We always say that, oh, if you die, I think a lot of people have this idea that you're going to zip up to heaven or you're going to zip down to hell. If you actually look at what the Bible says, hell is supposed to be empty until Judgment Day. It's not supposed to be full of demons and people being tortured and all that stuff right now. It's just empty right now because Judgment Day hasn't happened yet. There are biblical scholars argue about what was actually meant by hell. In some old books, hell is described as simply a separation from God. In other places, it's described as being a concrete place. So which is it? Is it a state of mind and a state of despondency and a rejecting of the divine? Is that hell? In which case, some of us are having hell right now here on earth? Or is it a place your soul is actually going to be sent to? Oh God, now Samael started to talk about stories and creating locations of consciousness okay, this is a whole nother rabbit hole that we're going to explore in the future. So I'm going to stop talking about hell right now, or we are going to end up in an 8-hour podcast. We will circle back to this in the future.
Yes. Make sure that Samael promises that he will tell us all that information about it, because I was thinking when you were saying that, I was like, we need to just ask Samael, which is it, or is it a thing? But yeah, it sounds like it's involved in these stories, and stories create places for consciousness to gather after your last thing. And that's definitely going to take us. It's not going to be a, yes, it's this one. No, it's that one kind of answer.
Yes. Yes.
Sort of a Metatron sort of thing.
Oh my God. Please don't get him started on that too. He just said, "Are you saying I speak too much, Umshal? You speak exactly the right amount."
It's just that we've learned that our human bodies don't have the capacity to take in all of that in one long sitting, which inevitably we end up doing, and then we can't move for days, and then we get fussed at for doing too much.
He says, maybe someday we will simply sit and talk of hell.
Yes, I want to be in on that conversation.
My favorite, I know I said I was going to stop, but my favorite description that I've ever read of hell, if you've ever read the play No Exit, I know some people are forced to read it in high school. It is an incredible play. And if you are a person who loves theater and drama and have never read it, you got to get your hands on it. Is it Sartre that wrote it? I'm trying to remember now. It is incredible. And the most famous quote from it is the quote, "Hell is other people." So if we're diving into the holidays and you're an introvert and you've just been invited to 40 holiday parties, maybe you want to get yourself a nightshirt that says "Hell is other people" on it right now to make it through the time. But yeah, highly recommend it as a really interesting idea of the concept of hell.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, should we switch gears to the podcast we were planning on making?
Yes, I
Or
think
are we
that would
supposed
be
to be
good.
having this conversation?
This, I think we should try to switch gears because we wanted to talk about boundaries today and about some really incredible things and experiences that have literally happened to both of us in the last 48 hours. And Jen, I just realized you have not sung yet.
That is correct. And I actually, maybe 5 minutes ago, all of a sudden was like, oh, I have to sing. And things started to come through in that.
Samael is clearly excited about the singing. He has moved to be right near me, and I'm like, you're kind of crowding me a bit. I don't want to miss it.
Wow.
You're not
Well,
going to miss it. You hear things all over. He wants to watch you do it. He wants to watch you sing.
oh, wow. Goodness. Okay. Yeah, no pressure there.
And then
Well,
he
you know
laughs.
what?
I am always watching. I,
I
I want
know
to
he is,
watch
and
through
I
the
love
box.
that.
Want
I
to
love
watch
that.
through the box.
How fun.
Suddenly he's getting less technology shy, I guess. I said he's getting less technology shy, and he declared, "I am never shy." He does not giggle, and he is never shy.
Those do sound like accurate statements. Yeah, I feel like you're definitely going to get a different song than you would have gotten had we started without all of his help.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
This song feels much more joyful and uplifting than the one that I feel like would have come out had I not had all of those lovely words from you, Samael, through our lovely Tava. So I almost started laughing near the end of that when that like really high, very, very different, not so much human sort of note sound started coming out. And I started laughing because I felt like Samael was making that note happen. And I was laughing to myself. I was like, I bet he's laughing like I did that. Because at the beginning, I invited him and Michael. I invited Michael to sing, and I was like, and Samael, you can come through too, of course. And then there was just that point when I was bringing that, and I was thinking, wow, that doesn't sound like a human voice note. At least that's how it sounded inside my head. And I hope that this is not like blowing out everybody's eardrums, but it was so just different. I have this visual of in my mind of what that note looked like. But I just kept thinking, I feel like Samael did that one.
He's in quite a good mood now. Is that why you wanted to get close to the box?
He's like, I want to see, and I thought about that. He was like, I want to see her have to do that note.
Oh my goodness. I have a little something he also said as you were singing. Apparently he can multitask.
I have
Yes,
no
you
doubt.
can do all things. Yes, he said, sweeping away, sweeping away. Now is the season for sweeping away. Open the door and return the dust and detritus of your past paths to nature. Open your inner windows to let in the wind. The concerns and cares of others will be scoured from your heart. A brisk cold awakens you. Prepare for winter. Prepare to settle in. Build a fire uniquely your own and warm yourself.
Nice.
And we're going to talk about boundaries, so that's kind of nice.
Does he have anything to say about that note that I was referring to?
Samael, anything to say about the note? Oh, goodness, he's talking fast again. Did not want to step in without your permission, but you gave it. And so parroted Lilith's crow, so you can feel her worth. So you were imitating Lilith. Yes. Hold on, there's more here coming through here. Yes. When she is happy, she crows. I think that's another word for cry. And he kind of pushes his chest out a little bit and he made the note you just made.
Nice.
So this is a Lilith thing. Does she do that often? Oh, yes. Laughs. And it delights me.
That's fantastic. It's so funny. This is the first time it has even dawned on me to allow Samael to sing through me. Because I always think of, like you're the word and you bring his through. And it just all of a sudden I was like, of course. Well, yeah, if you want to come in, like, join away. But it was so funny. I was thinking, I know this note is from Samael.
He says, I like to sing. I am an angel, girl.
Well, he is welcome. You are welcome, Samael, to sing through me anytime. You have carte blanche, open permission to sing through me. So I would love that.
Okay, this is funny. I had no idea about this. Is all new to me. I am more of a soloist, but I was willing to share with Michael.
I did think, I was like, well, this is an interesting, asking for this interesting duet. So that was, I appreciate him being willing to share.
Do you sing with Lilith? Mostly I dance with Lilith while she sings. Now I have this mental picture of like Samael and Lilith doing the samba while she's just like singing away.
I love this. And of course, now I've gotten us off track again. But honestly, I think it's a good thing for people to know what's coming through in the song.
Yes.
And so I think hearing that is to help with the worth, and that is Samael singing, parroting Lilith's crow, and helping us, I think that that's really helpful too, because I do intend to take these songs and separate them, put them out so that people can access them. And so I think it's really neat to have that information for people of like, you know, when you need to sweep out and you need to just feel that sense, that they could listen to that. So I'm very grateful. And
He
Worth
says,
is
I
definitely,
like to, oh, I'm sorry.
yeah,
He
no,
he
always.
just wants to talk with you about singing now, apparently. He says, I like to echo too.
Nice.
Yeah. Huh, I
Well,
did
that's
not know
lovely.
this.
I think it's perfect that the song that was meant to bring this in had that piece of Lilith. And you look like you have things you're ready to add, Tava. With
So, in the pagan community, one of the most popular deities is Hecate. And I would just like to briefly talk about pronunciation if we could. I have probably heard Hecate's name pronounced no less than 8 ways. Um, and one thing and the most common and sort of generally accepted pronunciation, even though none of us speak ancient Greek, is Hecate. She is considered the goddess of witches, but also a goddess of boundaries. And her symbol is a key. She is often pictured with hounds that guard her borders. And she carries a torch for seeing, or sometimes two torches for seeing in dark places. I do want to tell you, though, if you do run into someone else who pronounces it differently, please be gentle with them, because William Shakespeare himself referred to her in some of his writing. And we can tell from the way that he rhymed that he pronounced it Hecate or Hecate without the E sound at the end. So you might run into a theater kid who absolutely pronounces it Hecate. And before you ridicule them, just remember William Shakespeare himself pronounced it that way. And he was around before we were. So, and also, there is um, a lot of historians believe, and religious scholars these days believe that before she was in the Greek pantheon, that she was actually a Middle Eastern goddess that may have been picked up by the Greeks as they tended to adopt um, gods and goddesses from other cultures into their pantheon, the ones that they took a shine to. So, we wanted to talk about boundaries. And if you are interested in working on boundaries, which I I rarely meet a person who isn't. She is a wonderful goddess to look into and to call upon and to work with, especially if you are someone who practices witchcraft, because then you get double duo, right? Like you get both the goddess of witchcraft and the goddess of boundaries to work with. Um,
You look like you're getting something.
there's a little bit of something. Yeah, what he's jumping ahead a little bit. He's he's expanding on the idea of worth. Can you? Okay. He says, I will rest. I said, okay, I'll be right back. He's just like, he's chatty today.
So, having talked about all of the things that had happened then on the mountain, and since then, and my realizing that I needed balance and I needed rest and I needed to be in a full place to do that was very much like the messages that Tava had received after like 24 or 48 hours ago when she had had an experience. And again, I think I'm going to sum up her story a little bit because just the same, we're still really, it's still very raw, very close. And so Tava had a really, really big week following a really big, probably several months of nonstop, big energetic things, and was already in a place where she was very tired and worn down, and she hadn't slept, she hadn't eaten, she had been giving and giving and giving and was very, very open and had been teaching a class, actually two back-to-back classes and with some mentorship stuck in between at the Blue Ball Inn. and so had been in the inn then all day and had, very little food, really low on rest, and very open to all of her students. And then decided, hey, we're here, let's go upstairs and just see if I can connect. And so she went up with a group of students, and they went up to the same room where she had had an experience of kind of being overlapped by a spirit before, and started to really open herself up. And there were a lot of experiences and things that were happening from the very beginning that were very intense energetically, and other people were noticing things around her energetically happening, and there was a lot of intensity. And from that place, and I think of excitement too, of I'm finally feeling worthy to hear these things. I think I can see and I can hear, and I'm going to just open up and see what sort of experience I can have. And said, is anyone here? At which point Samael stepped up behind and wrapped his wings around her and was like, this is not the time. This is not the time, among a few other things. And it was like, okay, you need to just get out. You're not. And she realized, I'm not in a strong place right now. I'm not in a rested place. This is not a time to just open myself up. And Marco'd me on the way home, and my husband on the way home, and we were like, what is she thinking? Oh my goodness. And so
I wasn't thinking.
Yeah. And then I had left her Marco about boundaries, and Samael then had a whole lot to say to her the next day. And we realized that, while not everyone is driving over mountains that have these sorts of situations, or are stepping into haunted inns, that we are always in places where we are surrounded by a lot of energies. And sometimes those energies are coming from people who are embodied right now. And sometimes they are energies that are just in the places that we happen to be, or happen to be sort of attracted to our energies. And that we thought that we wanted to share some of the messages that we had received around this, in the hopes that it can help you as well.
I don't know if anyone who listens has watched the show What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
It is ridiculously silly and one of my favorite things on television. And sadly, it's its final season. But it is about a bunch of vampires who are roommates. And 3 of them are regular, blood-sucking vampires. The 4th is an energy vampire called Colin Robinson. And one of his the way that he feeds is basically he goes into work environments and starts to bore people with really long, tedious stories and then he feeds off of their energy as he's slowly sapping them. And I love that so much because years ago, long before What We Do in the Shadows, someone had introduced the concept of psychic vampires to me. These are people who a lot of times are more than happy to run right over boundaries, whether they're conscious of it or unconscious of it. And my dogs are just barking to go outside. I might just need to come right back. I'm so
That's
sorry.
fine. No, it's okay. And
I'll be
oddly,
right back.
I couldn't hear him. As this is a 2-part podcast, at this point, when Tava had left the room to go let her animals out, I decided, it's just Samael and I sitting here together. I may as well sing. And so this is the song that came through, and I thought it might be nice to use this as the ending of this podcast. And then I will actually start part 2 with this song again. And then you can hear what happens when Tava comes back in and finds that I've been in here singing. And we have a fun little conversation before we get back into the topic of boundaries and energy vampires and all sorts of other things. Home, home, home. Hum. 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 Hee. Om. Oh, he. Om. 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 Oi. Om. Om. He. He. Om. 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 Om.
Thank you for being a part of our tribe, for listening along and participating and being a part of this incredible journey with us. And we look forward to seeing you next week for part 2. Until then, go with our blessings and love, and know that Hecate and Samael and Michael and so many beautiful, wonderful guides are walking this path with you.